Hey everyone, happy Sunday. Just gonna dive right in today since I know that my videos have been kind of long, but this is day 3. And today I'm going to be talking about consciousness, which is the next trait in the interpersonal traits. Excuse me while I sat on the floor, my phone was dying, so I'm filming this here on my iPad. So I'm just gonna jump right into the definition of what consciousness is. And I scored a 10 in this, but while I am reading this, I want you to think about yourself and if you think that where you would score on a scale of 1 to 10 for consciousness. So here's the definition of it. You have a very strong sense of duty and take your personal and career commitments most seriously. Almost always, you place the welfare of others before your own personal interests. You willingly do things according to the rules and tend to follow guidelines to the letter. It is likely to bother you when others do not do the same. As a dedicated person, it is important to you to complete every task and project exactly as expected. In your view, there is a right way and a wrong way to do things. You are less comfortable in vague gray area situations and will work to define matters in a more black and white fashion. The commitments you make to managers and coworkers are taken very seriously. Those who know you believe you to be a person of your word. Rarely, if ever, will you make promises you do not keep. Because of your great sense of dedication, you tend to place the needs of your organization, managers, and coworkers before your own. You have the perfectionist standards and may attempt to convert others to meet these standards. This attitude could cause some people to see you as excessively rigid. However, for the most part, your dedication, willingness to honor commitments, and respect for others' rights will be to your benefit. More than likely, you are known as a person of high integrity. So that's the overall definition, and then of course it breaks it down even further, tells me if this trait and how I scored is a liability or an asset, and what this means in my career and my social life. And so it says this trait is an asset because you strive to do the correct thing at all times and usually place obligations to others before your own interests. For my career, it says that my conscientiousness is most valuable in careers or on projects that require dependability and or quality of workmanship. You usually keep the best interests of your organization and customers' clients in mind. Managers and coworkers can rely on you to meet your commitments and to consistently put forth your best effort. So definitely something that I kind of knew about myself. I think that the definition of it kind of made it seem like I'm super die-hard about like my commitments and duty and things like that, which I do take very seriously. It's important to me that I am viewed as someone with high integrity. I think that I value that in other people, and I want to be someone who is known for her high integrity and keeping to her word, and for my sense of duty and obligation. However, while I could potentially be seen as excessively rigid, I do think that when it says that I place others above myself, I think that that's something that, even though I scored a 10 in this, this is one of the areas that it could be not as beneficial to be scored so high, because I can sometimes overextend myself because I do not break my promises and I keep to my word for my different commitments, that sometimes I cannot perform things to the best of my ability, and so I will work really, really hard, and sometimes that can just kind of backfire on me, so to speak. And then always putting other people's interests above my own isn't always going to be the best thing, and I think that sometimes people can definitely take advantage of that. So why do I think that I am the way that I am? And for this one, it's a pretty easy answer. I grew up in a religious household, very religious. I also grew up in a cultural household. So my mom was Filipino and my dad was Irish. I didn't grow up with my real dad, but my stepdad was white, and he introduced my mom to religion. And for being a Baptist Christian, it has a very strict rules and guidelines of how you should live your life, and when you're surrounded with those types of people all the time, and I went to church a lot growing up as a kid. I was very, very religious. Every night reading the Bible. My whole entire family, my parents and then us 5 siblings, would meet downstairs in the living room, and we would all take turns reading verses from the Bible, which let me tell you, that was pretty difficult because the King James Version, as a kid, is really hard to read. And when you go to church and go to Sunday church in the morning and then in the evening, and then you would go Tuesdays door to door, knocking and spreading God's word, and then on Wednesdays, you would have youth groups, sometimes something on Friday, and then obviously like the week starts all back over again, and you would pray every time that you ate, and there's all these strict rules and guidelines, and there is a right and wrong way for things. Then that kind of just like goes through for the rest of your life. And then obviously religious, there are definitely rules, and you're supposed to have high integrity and a lot of moral codes and whatnot. And so definitely something that I learned religiously, but then also culturally as well. My mom coming from a strict cultural Filipino background, that transferred to us kids. And so, and then growing up with parents that are very religious, have that cultural background, but also mixed with very severe child abuse, there is 100% a right and wrong way to do things. And you definitely don't want to be in the wrong. You always want to be right, and you want to do it right 100% of the time, because the consequences for those is very extreme. And so I think that's kind of why I am the way that I am. When I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it right, because of my religious upbringing, but then also from my cultural upbringing, and just because, while I'm not physically beaten anymore in terms of consequences, I still feel that really deep moral obligation to do things correctly. And so that's definitely why. But I think it's something that I really take pride in when, if someone were to say to me, wow, it seems like you're really dedicated and you're really dutiful to things, and you go above and beyond for people, you have high integrity. I think that that's a really good thing. I think that I need to be aware and mentally conscious of not always putting others above myself, because I do have a tendency to do that. But I think that while my childhood, it's not a pleasant thing, it's not a good thing, but I took those lessons that I learned and I applied it for something good. So that's kind of about that. But while I hope that you kind of reflect a little bit and kind of think about yourself and your consciousness. How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you feel like when you make commitments, you can always hold to them? When you do a project, do you feel like you do it to the best of your ability? Do you feel like you live by rules and guidelines and you follow things to the letter? Do you have a lot of gray area? Not that that's a bad thing, not at all. I think that there needs to be a balance of different things, because while I'm a stickler to the rules, that means that sometimes I don't always think outside the box. And so how would you rate yourself is the question for Sunday. But yeah, stay tuned for tomorrow. I don't know what it is that I'm going to be talking about, but I hope that you all have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.